In recent times, many new childhood vaccines have been introduced, each one with its own controversies. The new vaccines at first are just suggested. Then they become recommended by pediatricians, and before long they become required before entering public school. And it isn't long that laws are passed that says you gotta have them. I want to tell you people something. We know that the Bible tells us that they will use war. We also know that the Bible said there will be earthquakes. And we now have come to the realization that man can, even in his technical ability, create earthquakes or floods or rains. For instance, coming up here in the summer is going to be the Summer Olympics. And do you know that China has already let it out that they are going to control the weather so that there will be no rain at the Summer Olympics? Now that is going to be interesting. Now you say, where did you ever read that? Well, it's all over when you search, they pop up in front of you. They're up there salting the clouds. They're learning how to manipulate the waves, the wind waves up there, and they believe that they can keep the rain clouds away from the Olympic Stadium and the Olympic site. Now, can they do it? You know what God said about man when he came down to the Tower of Babel? God knew what he put in man. He knew that he put in man a living soul, and he put in man a part of himself. And that man can create, but he can only create from what God has already created, because he himself is a creative being. But God said, if I do not intervene in what men do, then he'll stop at nothing. He'll come, as long as he believes, he'll stop at nothing and go on and on and on. 1-year-old healthy child today can get 10 different antigens injected into his body in one day, writes a columnist. Her name is Barbara Simpson, in the issue of informative magazine called The Whistleblower. No one knows the effect on that child's immune system, and such tests haven't even been conducted. But it gets worse, much worse. As a result of today's vaccine mania, what do they mean by vaccine mania? Why, it's drugs. It's probably one of the most profound money-making. Can you think of anything that makes more money than oil, than drugs? I mean, the whole society of humanity, much of the billions of dollars that are used to support the exuberant lifestyle of the rich or the outlandish lifestyle of the desperate comes from drugs. We heard the other day again how Afghanistan, you know where the Taliban was, you know where Mr. Osama bin Laden is so entrenched, and we have reorganized that whole country. Well, they're back to normal now with a different controlling body, which is under the control of the universal brotherhood, so to speak, and they're back to their money-making poppy seed crop. 90%, they tell us, of the poppy that makes opium, that fuels the intellectual drug addiction, comes from Afghanistan. So we blow the Taliban away, but we didn't touch the oil and the wine. We didn't touch that which is needful to, make it worth our while to fight the war. Right now, state after state is attempting literally to force young, real young schoolgirls into getting a brand new vaccine with an unproven safety record to prevent what they call a sexually transmitted form of cancer. The manufacturer pharmaceutical giant Merck has lobbied state politicians to make their vaccine mandatory. There's major movements towards AIDS vaccine. Once approved by government, it will have to have another push like the current one to immunize schoolgirls against a sexually transmitted disease. Only this time, it will be mandated, the AIDS vaccine for everybody. Despite publicity to the contrary, the controversy, mercury-based vaccine preservatives, thought by some researchers to be linked to rising levels of autism in the U.S., is still used in some vaccines. Then, of course, there's the U.S. military, which compels soldiers to get multiple vaccinations. Some experts, citing compelling evidence, blame the military's anthrax shots for the epidemic dubbed Gulf War Syndrome. Well, well, well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. In the book of Revelation it says, "Yet they repented not of their sorceries." And anyone who's ever studied pharmacy and what it means, it simply means sorcery. It means casting a spell. It means altering the chemical process of the body, which is balanced, and if it can be balanced perfectly, will function and maintain health and maintain integrity. Satan knows how to use it. I used to remark about it years ago when I would tell people about the alcohol and the bootlegging in Alabama, and I would say to them, I watched them come out, the federal agents come out by the hundreds, and they would go down and raid a still, because a still was an illegal operation simply because, you know, it wasn't regulated, so that everybody would get the right amount of liquor. Of course, the biggest regulation it wasn't taxed. And once they found out how to tax liquor and to make it legal, you can buy liquor anywhere. I watched them in New York when they run down the prostitutes, you know, just like bring out a whole army to do it. And of course, if you could find a way to legalize that, then that'll be fine too. Our nation is a nation of law and order, they say. As I mentioned some time ago, we used to have what they called peace officers. Not anymore. Now we have officers who enforce the peace. You see, because there is no peace to the wicked. There just isn't any. Man today without God is totally wicked, and the wickedness of man is great in all the earth. You're listening to the Overcomer radio broadcast, universally heard throughout all the nations of the world, to remind you that this is the time that the Bible talks about, that the end of the world will come. My name is Brother Stair, loved by a few, hated by most, and sent by God to bring to you the message of the coming kingdom of heaven. Check our website, if you will, www.overcomerministry.org. www.overcomerministry.org. Our contact telephone, you call 1-843-538-6689. U.S. code 1-843-538-6689, and just leave your message. May God bless you. Prepare to meet your God. Maranatha.